More than a third of all children under the age of 7 have seen a video nasty. That's one of the findings in a study of video violence published today by a group of MPs, peers and churchmen.
Have you ever heard the term video nasties and wondered what it meant? Well, it's not the videotapes you found in the back of your weird uncle's 280ZX as a kid, even though those videos were pretty nasty. How's it going, creeps? Welcome back to Cinema Creep. Cinema Creep is a place where we discuss, dissect, and review all things vile, disgusting, and downright terrifying in the world of horror cinema. And today is no exception because we're going to be talking all about the video nasties. Creeps, a video nasty is a term that the NVLA used to refer to a list of films which were typically low-budget horror and exploitation films that were considered too vulgar, too violent, and too disgusting for the general population by the press, social commentators, and religious organizations in the 1980s in the United Kingdom. So some of the history here I'm going to summarize because it goes kind of deep and it will make this video way too long. But a good supplement to this video is a documentary called Video Nasties, and I'll link it down in the description below. I highly recommend you go watch it because there's a lot of cool footage in it. So with the rise of home video and VHS tapes in the late 1970s and early 1980s, more and more studios were making direct-to-consumer movies, bypassing the traditional theatrical release models, and with that they were able to skirt by the regulations and ratings that most films had to go through before being released to the general public. And with no clear regulations on home video content, films like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Cannibal Holocaust, and Driller Killer made their way into British homes, scaring the ever-living shit out of everyone. Honestly, what a time to be alive. However, these films caused public outrage with media, religious groups, and moral crusaders. This led to conservatives calling for their ban, believing that they were harmful to society, especially children, and some would even say harmful to dogs.
Research is taking place, and it will show that these films not only affect young people, but I believe they affect dogs as well.
And with every movement, there is usually a leader or a face attached to that movement that kickstarts it. And here's where you guys are going to get to meet Mary Whitehouse for the first time. Mary Whitehouse was a teacher and a conservative activist, and she focused in on sex, gore, and violence on TV and in films.
I have never seen a video nasty. I wouldn't. I have far too much.
But how can you judge on a video nasty?
Oh,
You've never seen one.
Look, if somebody tells me, as we get these reports in from Europe, from America, and from this country, that a particular video nasty contains that, and that, I actually don't need to see visually what I know is in that film.
I bet she was real fun at parties. She led campaigns against the mainstream British media which accused them of being too permissive. This is when the term video nasties started being used, leading prosecutions against individuals who were trading, selling, or showing obscene films. You know, the good ones. To make things easier for local authorities, the Director of Public Prosecutions released a list of 72 films that they believed violated the Obscene Publication Act of 1959. This was the DPP list, aka the Video Nasties, which more or less prohibited the publication of obscene material to provide for the protection of literature, of all things. This led to police raids on video stores and confiscation and destruction of videos on that list and persecution of individuals with movies that were deemed obscene and offensive. The DPP list was first released to the public in 1983, and then it was reviewed monthly for potential new revisions. Not all films, though, were on the same level of obscenity, however, with the DPP splitting their confiscations into two categories called Section 1 and Section 2. This is where things get a little wordy, so hang out with me. Under Section 1, any title seized would expose the dealer or distributor to prosecution for distributing obscene materials. If they were convicted, the dealer would face fines or imprisonment, and the film would be officially deemed obscene. This ruling would prohibit the film's sale or distribution in the UK until the obscenity verdict was overturned. And this is why you would start seeing a lot of weird cuts of movies where they would cut out all the violence, the gore, and the nudity, and basically water the movies all the way down till they really had no more plot anymore. Section 2 titles were subject to a less obscene charge, allowing police to confiscate films deemed obscene. If the dealer cooperated and admitted that the materials were obscene, they could avoid personal prosecution. The 33 films that could be prosecuted under Section 1 were automatically classified as Section 2 titles and were still seized by the police. The key difference between the two sections was that under Section 1, dealers or distributors could be personally prosecuted in court, while under Section 2, they could escape prosecution by forfeiting the materials and admitting their obscenity. Imagine the police kicking in the door of your video shop and asking if you think Evil Dead is an obscene movie, and when you say no, they just fucking arrest you. That's how things were going at the time. So I don't know how here in America we escaped all this mess, but the video nasties are out there, and people in England are now obviously watching movies off this list, and horror movies are getting released every day over there. So how did all of this come to an end? Well, it did and it didn't, but in 1984, the Video Recordings Act required the BBFC to classify films before they were released and ban them if necessary. As more and more major studios started to embrace home video for better or worse, they brought with them more regulations, which led to more balanced and logical regulations regarding obscene material. So basically, the powers that be could ban movies that were going straight to video. They could ban them, they could rate them, as opposed to there being no regulations before. Though the panic has since faded, the video nasty era left a lasting impact on censorship and the horror genre. Many of the once banned films have been re-released and are now seen as cult classics, and many in the list rank as some of my personal favorite horror films. Now, I don't know what that says about me, but there's some really good movies, you know, on this video nasty list. The controversy surrounding these films not only highlighted the tension between artistic freedom and public morality, but also the way art can easily be silenced by conservative populations. The video nasty era is a key moment in film history, showcasing how societal fears can influence censorship and shape media culture. I will link a list of all the 72 films that were considered video nasties down in the description. So that's it, creeps. That's the quick and dirty version on the video nasty era. And while you're here, I'm curious to know, what is your favorite film off the original video nasty list? Let me know down in the comments. Last but not least, don't be a chud and like the video if you liked it. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more horror content. And that's it. Stay creepy, and I'll see you guys on the next one. See ya.
Have you watched?
Zombies.
Oh, what happens in that one?
All the zombies running about and killing people and all blood splurting out of their heads. You see a lot of people getting their heads chopped off and slaughtered all over the place.
She speared his head, she threw a spear through his head, and
Didn't it frighten you?
yes.